And I'm back. That's my breakfast in the microwave. Let's see if it's still frozen. When it's cold like this, I get a little stiff. Oh, oh, there he's back. He's back. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying. Lindsay, looks like you are in a craft room of sorts. Does not look like a public shelter. No, no, no. This is a undisclosed location. This is the new community center that I'm helping bring into life, to birth, right? And it was, I've told the story many times. Go back and look at the story of the event here in the Pogie land of trade and Lindsay. Awesome. Yep. This was a school, right? And I was part of this school for many years. My good buddy was a principal, and all the teachers had been little kids at the school. This was like one of the holler schools, last of the holler schools, like Little Red Schoolhouse on the prairie. That's this place, right? Out in the mountains. And the rich people came in and bought up all the land and dispossessed all the folk who had lived here for 9 generations. And there were about 800 families that wouldn't go because they owned the land outright. They couldn't be taken away. They couldn't be given cash because where were they going to go, right? So they stayed here. And the event, Helene, came up from the coast and obliterated. I mean, you see images of Asheville. This was worse. It scraped everything away, towns away to bedrock. Didn't flood them, didn't like mush the building down, and scraped it away. Not only that, there were valleys like Pogie. This side, the rich people bought, and they were building $1 million houses. This side, the Pogie farms were still there. And the event came in and just scraped that away. We didn't really get a lot of rain. There was no river there. What happened was, at some point, that whole mountain, this is Sawtooth Mountain Range, that whole side of the mountain of that holler valley, whatever you want to call it, Pogie, kind of all the poor people, their land, everything, their houses, their tractors, slid down into what was the little Pogie stream that was now like a gigantic fire hose, and it got emulsified in a blender. And many, many people died, but all we found were like it was like Gaza. It was just like Gaza, right? You'd think the IDF had just flown through. And then the only thing the feds did was they came in 4 days later because no one could get up to them because they had paved the road for the new developers. That Pogie Road was like, and then they paved it this summer. And as the water came through, all the culverts just got washed out, right? So you couldn't traverse that road. So the federal government and the state declared the land uninhabitable and took it over with eminent domain. And 3 weeks later, while everyone was still getting, trying to, work out, because this place is not over the stress of what happened here. And 3 weeks, we were still like cutting trees down, and because the county, the state did nothing. FEMA did nothing, right? But we had response that was unbelievable. From the first minute on, this guy showed up. You guys got internet? And we were like, what? And he was, I got a Starlink. He had a vehicle. He had ladder. You got power? I said, what? And so I got this big generator with some propane tanks. And he basically he was there. I'm the electrician. I said, oh, come here. And there's this door where the big boiler is, and the electric comes in from above, from the drop. And there's a stove plug there that guys use to plug in their welders. And he stuck the generator outside, right by the door, and he had this big cable like plugged into the generator. And then there was a female on that side, but I wanted a male. So we had been looking the day before because we had just got the keys for this place. I wanted to, they closed it down in May. They didn't tell anybody. Said, "Oh, we're closing the school down." They closed all the little schools and forced every kid in the county to go into the main town, the county seat, and they had turned the old jail into a school. They had built a brand new jail. Instead of building a school or a college or something, no, they built a brand new jail, and they just let the kids to learn. They bused them to the old jail. Yeah, it was like mind-boggling. This school had a basic average of 10 kids to a teacher. The jail school has 60 kids because they closed down 8 of these little red schoolhouses because the rich people didn't want to pay the property tax. They don't have kids. They don't want to pay for these people's kids. So they, handed money to, don't believe a word I say, but, powers that be struck a deal and they closed, and they did it like that. And so I started, and I knew this was going to happen because I knew it was going to happen. Because every place I go, it's gorgeous, beautiful, and then whatever time it takes, like Manhattan, I lived in, Lower East Side, Red Hook, Harlem, Williamsburg, like $1 million houses. I went to places like Ithaca, which was just a sleepy little college town. Now it's hipster land. I went to Asheville. That place was stuck in amber because they hadn't paid off their debt. And so Lynn C., is that my Lynn C. from New York City? Is that the farmer girl from Louisiana who made it big in the fancy restaurant biz of New York City? Is that you, Lynn C.? Is that because that is you, Lynn C. And anybody else wants to get a hold of me personally, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Right? Anyway, I am going to go see if my breakfast is ready. Looks semi-ready. Anyway, when this was going on, I gave a few. So the guy gave us this generator. And when we came and looked at this place 2 days before the event, yeah, it's cooked enough. They had took out a hot water heater. They took out the propane tanks, the big ones. Oh, with no heat, no water. So all the stuff in the cafeteria, the kitchen in the cafeteria, is electric. So they tried to take all that shit out, but it was old, but it was great. They don't build shit like this anymore, so it was too heavy. They unbolted it from the ground, and they kind of dragged it to the door, and then fuck this. And they left it there. Well, that electric stove had the same kind of plug that plugged into that plug in the utility room. So this guy, I said, got tools? This guy had every tool known to the universe. And a big pair of loppers, cut that plug off with a lot of cord, right? And but not too much. And I had big wire nuts. I kind of stripped it up, put the wires on, plugged it in there, started the generator. Well, the generator was already gone. He already had a big bright light so I could see what I was doing. I pushed the button to energize that circuit. I had already flipped off the main, so the current wouldn't go into the utility system. And then I hit the breaker to that thing. Whole school lit up. And this school had been redone many a time, so it all had super duper LED lighting, which takes no current. And they had lighting, they had this thing all around the building, LED strip, right? Well, it looked like Oz, because there was no electricity here, because everything was taken down by the storm because the trees exploded. I mean, whole mountains of trees shot out of the ground. This is not natural. That's why I call it the event. Ah, yes, the same Lynn. I was just checking. I've been looking for her. She's been hiding. And the best place to hide is in plain sight. Like during the Vietnam War, I didn't burn my draft card or go on anything because I knew all those chuckleheads. I knew the anti-war guy. What's his name? The two famous ones, and one of them became a Wall Street trader. One had really curly hair. Anyway. So during the Vietnam War, I went to the thrift store, bought myself a nice pair of corduroy shoes and Weezen shoes, and bought some underwear and new socks at Kmart. Nice shirt, nice in the box kind of shirt, white, one striped, one blue. I got a herringbone sports jacket that had pads on it, right? And bought a pipe and got glasses that, I could see out of. And I just went to every college campus. I went to Duke. Every place that I had friends at. University of Maryland, College Park. Went there. Went to Chapel Hill, UNC. Went to MIT, Harvard, Dartmouth. I mean, I had no computers. I would come in. It didn't matter when I showed up. I would just go into the cafeteria and eat, find a cute girl, try to move in. Boys, it's not tough. Our relationship with a woman, all you have to do is frigging listen and respond. I know the 19th Amendment was only passed in 1928 or whenever it was. Women were chattel, still are treated that way. If I was a woman, which, I am a lesbian, right? I am a lesbian. And I've been told by many a woman that I was the best lesbian they knew. I know all the lesbian things, And that is not a sin. God would not have made sex as a fun house if it was a sin. Now, you're supposed to ride that roller coaster, right? And you don't have to be nailed to the cross of religion and only have sex to procreate. Useless eaters. The word fuck, right? You know what that word means? Fornicate under church and king. That's what fuck means. And don't believe a word I say. It ain't bad. It's a churchy food. We had the kids went on the Christmas play last night. And they came and got me, took me to the thing. And it was great. I was almost ready to go to sleep. And they came and got me, took me over to church. I sat down. And I watched the whole thing. It was great. And I, didn't bring any of my stuff, right? I didn't have my phone or camera or nothing, right? So I just sat there and watched everything. and I opened myself so I could share it with God. Right? I was in co-creation with God. Right? And I'm a lighting designer, theater boy, and I was watching. I said, "Boy, they should push those lights down and do this and do that." I said, "No, I'm not doing that. Yeah? I'm not judging this. I'm going to enjoy it. Moment by moment." It was great. Kids knew their lines. They were hamming it up. The really small ones, they made them the animals. And so, this one kid, he wanted to be all the animals. So first he was a sheep, and he was like, I guess he know what sheep were like, farm boy. And so he's like trying to hump this girl's leg. I mean, this kid's like maybe 4 or 5, something like that. And this other girl who was in the audience, she comes out of the audience. She's dressed as a princess, like a little skirty thing. And she comes ballerina on her little toes up on stage and starts dancing around the show. And no one gets upset. The kid does it. Why? Because it's the minister's granddaughter. She can do no wrong. But it's going to be fun because this kid's, I don't know, maybe 4. And so she's stealing the props and taking them away and putting them in the closet. Right? So it was just kind of fun to watch this go down. Yep. So this was food that they had made and they were going to throw out. They had boxes of stuff. So I picked a few of these things, put them in the freezer. You freeze whatever icky, because it did have some deviled eggs. I didn't eat those. I had brisket, yum, yum, yum. Mashed potatoes, yum, yum, yum. Sweet potatoes, yum, yum, yum. Green beans, yum, yum, yum. Oh, and mac and cheese. Right? So that was my breakfast. So, here we are. I guess it's the 23rd of December. And I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but, we're on the edge of World War III. In Ukraine and Russia and the EU, right? I don't know if any of you guys know who H.G. Wells is. He wrote books at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, The Invisible Man, Time Machine, Dr. Moreau, and a number of others. And they were very popular, So he was a really smart guy. He was like an adjunct at Oxford or one of those schools, which most people don't realize, but are Jesuit schools, even though they're Protestant. And that's the best. See, the war between the Catholics and the Protestants, very interesting. Martin Luther knew there was something wrong, and he tried to fix it. Kind of, we got what we got. But anyway, H.G. Wells, smart guy, college professor, getting paid like 30 cents a year. He's got a wife, I think a kid on the way, lives in a manger. And he takes, for fun, he writes these stories. Because he really liked Mary Shelley and he liked the Jules Verne and the guy who wrote Moby Dick. Those are 3 First modern. I mean, the Greeks had modern theater and modern writing, storytelling. Thespians, right? Like thespians. Anyway, so at the end of the first movie about the guys who fight in the arena, and the generals, he just had a bloodbath in the arena, and the crowd is going nuts. I think he's killed the emperor. He's holding his emperor's head, and he goes, "Are you entertained? Are you entertained?" Bread and circus, right? And that's where we are right now. And what we have is fast food and big screen TVs. Yeah, we have platforms. Are you entertained? So you're watching all the stuff coming out of the Gaza Strip, watching all the stuff coming out of Ukraine. Are you entertained? Seeing all the body parts. Are you? I used to be a photojournalist. In photojournalism, most of those guys, my buddies, it was all about if it bleeds, it leads. My style was not that. My style was, taking, car crash, and there are people watching. There's the EMT. There's a few people who were in the accident that aren't dead or missing limbs, and I would take pictures of them and then talk to them and get their personal, emotional thing. And then when I wouldn't go up to war zones, and I went to Yugoslavia for the '84 Olympics, 80 whatever that was. And I got to know a lot of people there. And then a few years later, Milosevic was 70 millimeter artillery up around Sarajevo and just blows the place apart. Like this. And that set, and then Bill Clinton killed more people in Yugoslavia and the surrounding areas than any of those, more than Milosevic, more than any of those guys. Because he was reading the script. They picked Billy because he was a sociopath, and Hillary is a psychopath, right? And they go arm in arm together. An unbelievable word I say. Every president we've ever had was, had the brand of the Jesuits, right? Whatever secret society you're coming from. And the Jesuits aren't the top of the heap. They're just the nastiest bunch. And they, like the French Connection, or even better, the Godfather won when Michael's holding the Babel. He's the godfather of his sister's kid. And this priest is baptizing. Well, the priest is a bishop, a cardinal from Chicago that has sent up, the money train between the mob and the Vatican to get loose change, because the whatchamacallit was the 31 minutes. Okay. Had breakfast, or my first breakfast. I'm like a hobbit. I ate about 6 breakfasts. What time is it? How much juice do we have left here? Oh, yeah, I'm going to stick you on me. Since I got everything over there, I'm going to plug you in. So I started off trying to do Bible school. And I don't need to prove anything, so I won't. I'm your griot. I tell you stories. That's it. And I love you all. Thanks, Lynn, for coming back. You're one of the earlier members of the cadre. And I knew you weren't my Lindsay, but I was just checking. I would drive to her farm, but I can't do that anymore. So, and the two guys I introduced to her, they're trying to like keep her away from me. So they won't tell her where I'm at, and they won't tell her to go look at this show. Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Hello, that's me. And get a hold of me at the dudewake42 at Gmail, dudewake42 at Gmail. Hit those likes, subscribe. Let's get 1,000 people. Before the end of January, let's get 1,000 people. The algorithm would change and more people would see this, right? So that's good. I mean, but it doesn't, like earlier on, Jamie said that he's starting to hear everyone use the term, conscious intent, co-create with love, right? So now that's not coming from me, it's coming from God. So I just keep saying what I'm hearing. So, and it's not like I hear God's voice. I read all these books. The Bible is a tuning fork. It isn't a contract, right? RBG. So I'm going to hang it up now because we're getting close to the red line. And it's never a good